starting the video. Take a moment and subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम एवरीवन, होप यू ऑल आर फाइन। आज हमारे पास चैप्टर नंबर 5 है, द ओपन विंडो बाय एच मुनरो। टॉपिक हमारे पास इसके इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चंस और उसके आंसर्स हैं। इसका एक ही क्वेश्चन बार बार पेपर्स में पूछा गया है दो तरह से। 15 नंबर के आए हुए हैं 2014 में, 2020 में, 2018 में, 2022 में भी आया हुआ है। डिस्क्राइब द विजिट ऑफ फ्रैम्पटन नटल टू मिस्टर स्पेल्टन्स हाउस। राइट अ कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव एनालिसिस ऑफ द स्टोरी द ओपन विंडो। इसका आंसर यहाँ से स्टार्ट होगा। H. Munro is the British short story writer who wrote under the pseudonym Saki. His short stories are humorous, highly individual, and full of eccentric wit and unconventional situations. The Open Window is an excellent example of comprehension and piquancy of the author's style. It is a surprising story. The suspense is built up in the story very slowly and steadily rises to a wonderfully high level, and then comes the climax. It is an ironic story that keeps the reader's interest alive till end. Mr. Nuttall was an elderly, mature man who come to countryside to meet Mrs. Pelton in search of mental peace. He was suffering from nerves tension, and doctors ordered him complete rest. He wanted to spend a few days in the village and had a desire to enjoy its calm and serenity. He had a letter of introduction for Mrs. Pelton from his sister who had lived in the village 4 years ago. In the house of Mrs. Pelton, he was received by her niece Vera. She was a 15-year-old girl. She was an imaginative and self-possessed, sharp-witted and highly intelligent girl. In the course of conversation with Vera, he confesses that he do not know anything about that area and knows hardly a soul. Vera took advantage of his ignorance and invented a strange story to baffle her visitor. She told Mr. Nuttall that her aunt was a very miserable woman. Her great tragedy happened just 3 years ago. It was connected one way or the other way with the French window that opened to a lawn. She told Mr. Nuttall that her husband and her 2 brothers with their dog went off for their day's shooting. They never came back. They were engulfed in a treacherous piece of bag. Their bodies were never recovered. That was the fearful part of it. She told Mr. Nuttall that her aunt kept the window open every evening till it was dusk. She expected that they would come back from this window. She told Mr. Nuttall how her aunt said farewell to her husband and her brothers, her husband with his white waterproof coat on his arm and his youngest brother singing a sweet song and looked very charming at the time of departure. Soon afterwards, Mrs. Pelton appears in the room and apologized for her late arrival. She told Mr. Nuttall another story regarding the open window. She told Mr. Nuttall that her husband and her 2 brothers went out for hunting and expected to reach home soon. Poor Frampton was yellow with trouble. To him, it was all purely horrible. At that moment, her husband and her 2 brothers with their dog came back. Mr. Nuttall was wonder-struck to saw the ghost of Mr. Spelton along with his brothers and the dog coming briskly toward the window. It was too much for him. He rushed out of the house in great fear and nervousness. Soon the hunting party arrived in the room through the open window because their shoes were muddy. Spelton asked about the strange fellow who had bolted out as they arrived. Mrs. Spelton told a little about the fellow and added that one would think he had seen a ghost. At this moment, Vera coined another story. She told her uncle that he was afraid of dogs and there was a particular background for that fear. He was once hunted into a cemetery somewhere at the bank of the river by a group of dogs and had to spend a whole fearful night in a newly dug grave while the dogs were howling and barking above him continuously. So as soon as he saw Mr. Spelton's dog, he ran away at full speed. But the readers of the story are even more confused. They do not understand the situation until the writer comments upon the hidden trait of Vera. Romance at short notice was Vera's speciality. We as readers now understand the mischief of Vera, and the writer enjoy this situation. And the writer enjoy this situation. Thus, this is the story of irony and suspense. The reader's interest remain alive until end. यहाँ हमारा आंसर खत्म हो जाता है। अगर आपको ये आंसर थोड़ा ज़्यादा लेंथी लग रहा है तो आप इसका जो पहला इंट्रोडक्टरी पार्ट है उसको थोड़ा कट कर सकते हैं। जैसे आप डायरेक्ट यहाँ मिस्टर नटल से भी शुरू कर सकते हैं। मिस्टर नटल वॉज एन एल्डरली मैच्योर मैन हु कम टू कंट्रीसाइड टू मीट मिसेस पेल्टन। यहाँ से आप स्टार्ट कर सकते हैं। पहला पूरा पैराग्राफ या आप कट कर सकते हैं अगर आपको लेंथी लग रही है।
Thanks for watching.